Welcome to Creative Insights. I'm your host, Murat Güvenç from Across. Every week, we bring technology evangelists, industry practitioners to have a quick chat on hot industry topics and emerging technologies. Today, our guest is Ramesh Shurma, CEO of Orion Software. Ramesh, thanks for being part of our show.
Thank you, Murat. It's a pleasure to be here.
Ramesh, the in-person events are back. I know you have recently attended APAC Data 2030 Summit. There were several sessions in agile and mobile data strategy and data governance. So what will be the three key takeaways that you want to share with our viewers?
Yeah, thank you, Murat. And it feels like there's been a pent-up build of enthusiasm from folks in the industry. One of the biggest things I see is the movement into the cloud, which is almost, it's very surprising in some ways, but then it isn't, given that most of the folks have been in lockdowns for such a long time. The traditional on-prem kind of solutions have exposed their limitations. So companies are moving to the cloud. The second thing that you see is the need for speed, the agility in getting control of your assets. The environments are getting very complex, given that they're not going to transform entirely into the cloud. There's going to be a hybrid cloud, kind of a mix of technologies. And so people are very eager to take control of those assets. And of course, I see automation as being a big part of it, that people want to see more automation in what they do.
Right. So many companies are investing in cloud digital transformation projects. Based on your observation, Ramesh, what is the foremost challenge in application modernization and data migration efforts that companies face with today?
Yeah. The biggest challenge that companies have is lack of insight. It's fear of the unknown. So when you're starting to unplug or you want to reconnect something into the cloud, migrating, you don't really have a true idea or a clear idea of what the implications of that process or the project is. In essence, impact analysis is lacking, so they end up spending months doing research, not knowing which system to unplug. Is it critical? Who is consuming that information? So I think that's where the biggest challenge I think people are facing at the moment.
Okay. And how important it is to create sustainable governance, or what does it mean? Is it possible?
I think it is absolutely critical today. In the era of zero-day threats, constant changing environments with cloud migrations adding to the complexity of information, taking control of your assets. It's not a nice to have anymore. It's a must have. It has implications in data science. It has implications across the board. Shadow IT could really play havoc in an environment where you're migrating to the cloud, not knowing where you want to plug stuff in. So governance and getting access to information in near time is absolutely critical today, more than it ever was in the past.
And compliance is always a challenge for the organization, and especially ensuring compliance for financial institutes still continues to be a problem. If I ask your personal opinion, why is it so difficult for the compliance teams? Like, is there a way to handle that challenge?
Absolutely, there's a way. And the reason why it's so complex is the diversity of technologies that are within every major enterprise. Lack of information, or people are dealing with outdated information. And I think I've used this analogy with you. Like when we were traveling in the old days, we used to use paper maps to navigate our highways, right? And that worked. I mean, it got you from point A to point B, but albeit not in the most efficient way. But in the era of regulatory compliance, where regulators are breathing down your neck, you cannot take a couple of years to come back to them. Or let's just say you've had a breach, or in the case of a financial services company or healthcare, you have AML, money laundering compliance, or HIPAA compliance, where healthcare information is accidentally breached, or you could say PCI DSS. The need to get access to what happened, when it happened, what the impact of that is clear and present. I think that is the biggest challenge, is the diversity of technologies, and it's ever constantly growing in terms of diversity. You can't have one single person in the enterprise who understands everything that's going on within the enterprise. And I think that's the biggest predicament for most of the enterprises. And yes, the problem can be solved through automation and through what I believe is federation, without adding heavy footprints on top of a heavier footprint, to have a very light touch, but an accurate map that gives you visibility so that you can become more efficient in what you do.
Very good. Thanks, Ramesh, for your time and for being part of our show. I look forward to our collaboration.
Thank you for the opportunity, and it's a pleasure.